There's a tiny uninhabited island off the coast of Ireland called Great Blasket Island that was inhabited until 1953, and when the last 22 residents were evacuated, they left everything behind: furniture, clothes, dishes still on tables, and it's been frozen in time for 72 years, like an Irish version of Pompeii. Here's what makes this story haunt people. The Blasket Islanders spoke a unique dialect of Irish that doesn't exist anywhere else, lived completely self-sufficient lives with no electricity or running water, and produced three of the most important Irish language authors of the 20th century, despite most of them being illiterate fishermen and farmers. By the 1950s, only 22 people remained on Great Blasket, mostly elderly, no children, no doctor, no priest, and completely cut off from the mainland during winter storms that could last weeks. When a young islander died in 1947 because they couldn't get him to a hospital on the mainland due to rough seas, the Irish government decided the island was no longer viable and evacuated everyone in 1953. The islanders were given houses on the mainland, but many of them died within a few years. Older residents said they died of broken hearts from being separated from the island they'd lived on for generations. Here's the part that destroys you. When they evacuated, people left their homes exactly as they were, thinking they might come back someday. Photos from the 1980s show tables set for meals that were never eaten, clothes hanging on pegs, beds made, fishing nets stored. It's like everyone just vanished mid-routine. Today, you can visit Great Blasket as a day trip, and while most of the buildings have collapsed from 72 years of Atlantic storms, some houses are still standing with remnants of the last residents' lives, inside broken plates, rusted tools, children's toys. But here's what makes the Blasket Islands culturally important. Three islanders, Tomás Ó Criomhtháin, Peig Sayers, and Muiris Ó Suilia Bhain, wrote memoirs about island life in Irish that are considered literary masterpieces and are studied in Irish schools today. These were people with minimal formal education, living on a remote island, who produced profound literature about survival, community, and Irish identity that's more important than most university-educated writers' work. Peig Sayers became so famous that every Irish student has to read her memoir, Peig, in school, and she's either beloved as a connection to authentic Irish culture or hated because students find her depressing, but either way, she's unavoidable in Irish education, despite being a poor woman from an abandoned island. The Blasket Irish dialect was so distinct that linguists recorded the last speakers in the 1940s and 50s before it went extinct, and those recordings are now considered priceless because they preserve a way of speaking Irish that existed nowhere else and will never exist again. Today, Great Blasket Island has no permanent residents, but in summer, tourists can take a boat from Dingle, walk through the abandoned village, peek into roofless houses, and stand in the exact spots where these legendary Irish writers lived and wrote. There's an eerie feeling walking through a place where an entire community just stopped existing, where children played, where people were born and died, where a unique culture flourished and then vanished in one generation. If you just learned there's an abandoned Irish island where the last residents left everything behind in 1953, it produced three of Ireland's most important writers despite the people being mostly illiterate. And you can visit the ruins today and see remnants of their final days frozen. In time, follow for more abandoned Irish places where entire ways of life disappeared and left ghosts behind.